See, I absolutely love this game, but I have no interest in playing Ritual of the Night. Well, that didn't age very well. Hey everyone, welcome back to John's Watch. Today I'm going to be talking about Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. Now I know John's Watch is usually a first impression series. As you can see from the beginning of this video, I have put a lot of time into this game. This is going to be a full-on review. I've completely finished it, so I'm just going to be talking about my final thoughts on it. So Bloodstained Ritual of the Night was released on June 18th, 2019. It's developed by Artplay and published by 505 Games, and its trigger price is $53.49 Canadian, which is about $40 US or your regional equivalent. So this is described as an exploration-focused side-scroller action RPG by Koji Igarashi. For all intents and purposes, it is a spiritual successor to Castlevania Symphony of the Night from the PlayStation 1. Now, I'm really not familiar with any of Igarashi's work, so correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I can tell, he joined Konami, who made the original Castlevania games. Just before Symphony of the Night, I think he worked on Castlevania Chronicles, but one of the first things he did was Symphony of the Night, which is, I think, usually considered the best Castlevania game. And he left Konami in 2014, I think it was, and the last game he worked on was Castlevania Harmony of Despair, which I haven't even heard of. And then Igarashi went on to co-found the company Artplay, who put out the two Bloodstained games. So I think it would still be considered a Metroidvania game. I think the NES and maybe SNES Castlevania games are Castlevania games, and then the console ones, like Symphony of the Night, were Metroidvania games. Not totally clear on the whole Metroidvania genre. I've never really been big into it, which probably comes as a surprise to you since I played so much of Ritual of the Night. It certainly surprised me. Before we get really into the review, might as well go for the overall impression. Thumbs up. I love this game, as you could probably tell from how much time I put into it. It totally blew me away. It is the only game that I've played in probably the last 8 or so months where when I'm not playing it, all I can think about is playing more of it. That just doesn't happen to me anymore. I think because I've got so many games on Steam, I have 3,500 or something. It just really takes a lot to get me super engaged in a game. I've been playing Spider-Man on PS4, and it's a very good game. I really like it, but I haven't played it for probably about 2 weeks now, and I don't think about it that much. I'll go back to it eventually. But this one, I'd play it for hours at a time, and sometimes I'd have to take a break because my hands hurt from playing it for so long. And I'd be watching YouTube or something, I'd be oh, okay, I can't wait to see what the next boss is in Bloodstained or something like that. It definitely has its faults. It's not a perfect game. It's got quite a few faults actually. We'll get into those later, but it did not detract from my enjoyment enough to make this anything less than a glowing review. You're probably also wondering why the game looks a bit different. I've installed 5 different mods. There's a really cool graphics mod. I thought the original look of the game looked a little kind of washed out, not vibrant enough for me. So there's this really cool reshade mod. They're all on Nexus mods. I was very on the fence about this game. The release date came and went. I saw it come out, I watched a video review on it, and I thought, oh, that looks fine. The screenshots on the store page do not do it justice. It just doesn't look that good from the screenshots, so I'd look at the store page and be I'll pass on this one. And even just watching a video, I watched a video from Jim Sterling on it, and I thought, yeah, that looks kinda neat if you like Symphony of the Night, which I'd never played. So it really kind of passed me by until I played Curse of the Moon, which I only picked up because I saw it at this year's GDQ, and it was also 40% off on the summer sale. And even then, I think I did about 3 endings of the Curse of the Moon, and really enjoyed that game, but just wasn't interested in Ritual of the Night. And then I did the rest of the endings to 100% that game, and just something clicked, and I was okay, I need more of this Bloodstained kind of stuff. So the PR company for Artplay actually very kindly gave me a review code for Ritual of the Night. But having played it, I would not regret paying full price for this game, honestly. Even the 10% when it was on the summer sale, I think it's totally worth it. I put in 25 hours, that was just one playthrough. That was also doing a lot of grinding and farming for items and stuff like that. But I think I could quite happily play it again, do New Game Plus right now, They're going to add a second character at some point in the future. So as soon as that comes out, I will do a whole nother playthrough of it. So it's, for me, I found it's very easy to get a lot of hours out of this game. And again, it did really surprise me how much I liked this. Like I said, I don't really like Metroidvania. I really despise platforming games. Like Hollow Knight, I just started listening to the soundtrack before I played it because it sounded interesting. I loved the soundtrack. I was like, okay, I should probably check out the game. Did not click with me at all. I really, really did not enjoy Hollow Knight. Gave up about 4 or 5 hours in or so. So I really wasn't expecting to like this as much as I did. That's kind of echoed in some of the Steam reviews. I think a lot of people, like initially people who knew they would like it, picked it up. And then it got a ton of good reviews. It's at like 96% positive or something right now. And then because it got so many good reviews, I think more people got interested in it. So a lot of like the more recent reviews that are coming out like after I've finished playing it are all saying like they don't really like Metroidvanias, but something about this game really, really hooked them. I think the smoothness of like the movement and combat and menuing is probably like the best part of the game for me. It feels so smooth. Like the controls are really responsive. Miriam just moves like wherever you want her to. It makes boss fights, even like the really challenging ones, very fun and enjoyable because like you feel like even if you die, you can do better next time because you have such good control of the character. So we do have to get to some negatives, but like I said, they do not detract from my enjoyment of the game at all, which is also not like me. Like a lot of times, if even like a couple of things are wrong with the game, it can just put me off the game entirely, but not the case for Ritual of the Night. The graphics are pretty meh, to be honest. I think they were probably going for part nostalgia for Symphony of the Night and part just wanting to get it running on any kind of console, like PS4 and Xbox One, and also Switch, but obviously that was like downgraded a fair bit as well. But yeah, the graphics, they're pretty not great. I also found that the last half of the game, I started getting some pretty bad frame rate drops in just certain areas. And it wouldn't be the same place all the time. Like sometimes, like it mostly happened in Inferno Cave. And I always checked with an FPS counter, and it always dropped down to exactly 30 FPS. And sometimes it would stay like that for 15 seconds, and it would jump back up to 60, no problem. Sometimes it would stay like that until I left the area entirely. Sometimes it would start immediately upon entering the area. Sometimes I could be in the area for 15 minutes and it would never happen. It was really weird. And that did not happen for the first half of the game at all. I was able to fix it by turning off VSync, on or off, whatever it needed to be. I think it was off. And that fixed the frame rate issues, but gave horrible screen tearing. So I played with VSync on the whole time and only turned it off if like the lag was getting really bad. The next negative might be not so much a problem if people are familiar with Metroidvania games, because I think this is probably like an aspect of those games, but it was very not clear about where you had to go next at quite a few points in the story. There's some points where you have to actually farm a certain item that randomly drops from enemies, and like if I hadn't been following a walkthrough by this point in the game, I would have been so lost, and that's why I turned to a walkthrough at one point, because I just had no idea what I was trying to do. So again, might not be a problem if you've played a lot of Metroidvanias, or if that kind of thing doesn't bother you. Like I said, again, it was not enough to turn me off the game, but like a couple of times I would look up what I had to do and be like, really? I have to farm a randomly dropping item that is essential for progressing with the story? Interesting. I think probably the biggest issue I have with the game is that your character is confined to the realms of realism. Like you can't clip through walls and stuff like that, but pretty much every single enemy in the game can just fly all over the screen, through walls and everything, which when you have to farm some of these enemies, and you have to farm quite a few of these enemies at some points in the game, it gets really annoying because you'll like walk into a room and whatever you want to kill will just instantly drop down into the floor and you just have to sit there and wait for it to come back up. And sometimes if you kill these things, they can just drop their loot in the wall and you can't get it. You can see the little item bag on the ground and you're just not allowed to get it. I did potentially find a workaround for that, like right at the end of the game. For some reason, if I changed to a different summon shard, like I went from Welcome Company to Blood Drain, if I use Blood Drain, then switch back to Welcome Home or Welcome Company, the item would just go into my inventory. But I didn't find that out until like the last 2 hours of gameplay. So yeah, the enemies like going through all the walls and dropping their items in walls was really annoying. I think the difficulty curve of the game might be a little weird, but it also might be just how I played the game. I found the early game really, really difficult. Like, I think the first boss is the boss I struggled with the most in the whole game. But then after about 3 bosses, I started getting really good equipment, and at one point I got the Welcome Company shard, and I just blitzed through like the next half of the game or something. Some of these bosses just didn't even get, like, didn't damage me at all. I was just killing them so fast. And then I just kind of hit a brick wall where suddenly everything I had wasn't good enough and the difficulty just shot way back up again. So I don't know if like maybe I was just rushing through the middle part of the game. I didn't feel like I was. I thought I was trying to farm everything as well as I could. And there's a few posts on the Steam forums about like the difficulty design. So I don't think it's just me. A couple other things I did have issues with were that the save points and warp points weren't in the same room. Sometimes in some of the later levels, like in one of the later levels there's not even a warp point into it. You have to warp to a different level and then walk back into the other level. And also related to those, it did really bother me that no matter where you were, the warp rooms always looked the exact same, the save rooms always looked the exact same, and the going between 2 different areas room always looks the exact same. It's really weird to be walking through like an underground cave and then you walk through a big red door and suddenly you're in just a corridor in a castle, and you walk through that and then suddenly you're in a garden. It's definitely a bit cutting corners. Maybe that's where like they ran out of budget from the Kickstarter or something. But yeah, that like always threw me off whenever I saw it. And yeah, in some of the later levels they get spread like really far apart. Like you have to walk through multiple rooms with very dangerous enemies if you just want to save and restore your health or warp out of there. Anyway, all in all, absolutely loved this game. Wholeheartedly recommend it. It is like a little bit pricey. Like it kind of surprised me with the price, but after playing it, I do think it's pretty fair. You know, maybe wait for next sale, like 10% off, 15% off maybe next time. But yeah, I really, really liked Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. Huge surprise to me, but a very, very welcome surprise. And I also liked it so much that I'm going to hopefully try and get a little bit more Ritual of the Night content coming out. No promises yet, but I'm gonna try and work on something, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching this. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye!